Hello, and welcome to this Youth Issues program. As young people, we face many challenges, and our goal is to talk about these challenges and to provide solutions for them. My name is Anna, and joining me is my friend Paul, who is a basketball fanatic, and he is a youth pastor here in London. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for joining me.
No problem at all.
The topic we will be discussing for the next few minutes is bullying. So I think we should go straight into it, Paul. What is bullying?
Bullying from the onset is something that you don't decide to do. It's not something, it's involuntary. It's not something that you choose. It's basically where someone or a group simply decides to abuse you, to be violent to you, maybe physically, maybe emotionally. They simply decide to pick on you, whether it's because you've got glasses, whether it's because you've got red hair, maybe if you're gay, or even if you're black or you're white or you're an immigrant. It's simply just subjecting a group or a person to just pain and hurt, basically.
Before we go any further, we will hear from Naomi about her experience of being bullied.
Hi, my name's Naomi and I am going to talk to you about my experiences of being bullied while I've been at university. As a bit of background, I've never really been bullied before. I've never been incredibly popular and the centre of attention all the time, but I've never had people be intentionally malicious towards me a lot. So it was kind of a new experience and a bit of a shock to the system. As a bit of background, the people that were bullying me were actually a few of my housemates, which has made it really, really difficult because, you know, home is meant to be your safe haven where you escape from everything, and unfortunately that hasn't been the case. My closest friends from university, there was a group of about 10 of us, and 8 of them, I think, have gone on placement. So between their second and third years, they've taken a year out to go into industry and have that experience while I've been left behind. So I can't really remember how it all started. I remember there being problems by November because I remember calling my mum, I think it was the second week of November, and just not being happy, not being upset, but there just being a few small issues that kind of weren't making life perfect, so to speak. There was one night, and it was my boyfriend and myself. It was our first year anniversary, and it was the night we were cooking in the kitchen, and just out of nowhere there was just a vicious attack by 2 of my housemates who presented me with a really long list of everything they hate about me and everything that I do wrong and why no one should ever love me and things like that. And I just got really upset. I apologised them profusely. I didn't mean to cause anyone any difficulties. Obviously no one's perfect, but I never got my chance to say anything to them back. Obviously there's a two-way street, and since then I have tried to, you know, speak to them about what perhaps hurts me as well as hurts them. But unfortunately, every time I've had that conversation with them, it just turns into an attack about me again, rather than, you know, a conversation between adults that admit that they're not perfect. And so it's really been a struggle. So I haven't had a proper conversation with my housemates since that night in February, which would be February the 4th. And it's now June the 11th, and I'm still in this house. So it's been really, really difficult. I've hated coming home. I've slept at my friends' houses that obviously I don't live with, just to escape. I've gone home a lot more than I would have otherwise. I just generally hate being here. More often than not, I'll pretend to have a phone call when I enter the house because no one talks to me when I enter the house or asks me any questions about how my day was or how I am. I try to talk to them, but it just doesn't work. So most of the time I pretend I'm on the phone to kind of prevent that experience of just being rejected every day when I wake up and when I come back from uni. I've struggled with eating because obviously the kitchen's downstairs and that's where everyone kind of hangs out, and so I don't want to be there because I feel so rejected, yet I kind of need to eat. So I've struggled with my eating, and that's something I struggle with anyway, so that's kind of been a recurring issue, which isn't fantastic, but I have a lot of anger about it. I'm angry at them, and it's going to take me a long time not to be angry at them because I've had such a fantastic 3 years that this kind of has overshadowed it a bit. And like, my university experience has been so great, but unfortunately this has kind of just burdened it a little bit, and I don't want to reflect on my uni experiences as this. I'm angry at my family because on some days I would just phone home and be like, Dad, come save me, and he would be like, no, because you need to figure it out on your own and develop as a person. And I used to hate him. Not really, but sometimes we just want mum and dad to solve all our problems, and sometimes they don't. So that wasn't great. And most of all, I was angry at God because I prayed so hard every day that he would deliver me from this situation, and he didn't. I didn't find anywhere else to live. I looked, I couldn't find anywhere else to live. I tried to resolve the situation and it didn't get resolved. And so I was angry at him for not changing my situation. But one of my favourite Bible texts is Jeremiah 29:11, which of course is cited by everyone during exam season. And I'm going to cite it again. He knows the plans that he has for me, plans to prosper me. You know, like, that really stayed with me this whole year. And I feel that as I've only got a week left until uni's over, I feel that he's really been with me and made me a stronger person as a result. I've learned a lot about myself as a result of these experiences. And I know that sounds really cliche, but I really have. And I think I'm now leaving university. I'm 21. I'm going into the big wide world. It's important that I know my weaknesses, and it's also important that I know my strengths. And my strengths are that I could have quit uni, and at some points I really did come close. That's how bad it was. But I didn't. I stuck with it, and I really prevailed with it. My weaknesses are that I let other people's opinions have too much influence in my life, but I need to work on that. And ultimately, my relationship with God has got so much stronger as a result of these experiences, which is something that I'm really happy about. And to an outsider, it may not seem that these experiences were so bad. You know, I wasn't slapped around, and I didn't have things thrown at me, and, like, you know what I mean. But it's really difficult coming to a place where you live and hearing people talk about you, and invitations to meals out and shopping trips being shouted up the stairs at other housemates, but not to me. They're going on a holiday next week and I'm not invited, and they went on a shopping trip today and I wasn't invited. Last week I wasn't invited to a birthday party that was happening in my own house, so I just had to stay in my room. There's just been a lot of things like that, and even if it happens every week, it just makes you feel like nobody loves you and will ever love you. So it's been really hard, and it's kind of knocked my self-esteem and my self-confidence so hard. But as I said, positives out of everything. You know, I find that I connect with God through music, and so therefore through music I find a sense of hope. And a faith that things will get better. And so I can recommend so many songs for anyone who's ever in this situation. But Marvin Sapp has a few songs, More Than a Conqueror, Here I Am, Keep Moving. Yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole playlist because I'll be here all day. But they really got me through this time. Just whack them on and just lose myself in prayer, lose myself in a sense of just hope filling over me, and a sense of feeling that I will get through it and that I will grow as a result. Also, I'm a sports scientist, so I recommend exercising. You know, getting out, running it out, boxing it out, just get rid of the stress, get rid of the tension, and don't think about it for an hour. You know, when things are posted on social media about you, sometimes, or at least I found that I had a bit of an obsession with constantly checking, like, my housemate's social media, because I was just obsessed with the situation. It was almost like an addictive depression. So, you know, finding ways to just escape from your house or from the situation that you're in, getting out. I'm seeing someone run past now. Getting out and just releasing that, like, sense of catharsis, just getting rid of it. That's really benefited me a lot. What else? You know, I've really, like, lent on my family and my friends a lot. My boyfriend has been absolutely incredible. throughout this whole thing, and almost without him, I probably would have quit uni. But my brother's at the same uni as I am, and he's always been there if I needed to pop round, or he's he's literally just around the corner, which is not great in some ways. But he's always been there. My parents have always been down the end of the phone, because sometimes you just need to rant, because if you don't rant, it builds up inside you and then it explodes, and that's never a good thing. So lots of thanks to mum and dad for always being on the phone when I'm crying down the phone saying I want to come home, and they're just letting me get it all out without judging, without passing opinion, without giving advice, and until that point where I need it, just letting me get it all out. So at the same time, if you know someone that's going through it, just let them take it out. If you feel that they're getting at you, they're not. They just need to release it. It's really difficult being in a constant state of stress. Imagine it's almost like being in exam period for 9 months. Imagine that. Like, you just need to kind of vent. You need to get it out. So just be there for them if they need you to be there. So yeah, that's kind of my experiences. I don't think I've got anything more to say. Yeah, so there's an upside to everything. Try and stay optimistic. Definitely have reconnected with God on another level that I had forgotten existed. So I'm so grateful for that. It's so easy to get caught up in the uni life and forget about God, really. So I'm really glad that this experience gave me that opportunity. Yeah, it's still hard, and I'm a little bit worried about going downstairs now because I am in this house and they could have heard, but never mind. I'm a stronger person, and they won't break me, and they won't break you either. So stay strong, stay connected to God, stay connected to the people that you know love you, because you need to feel loved. And if anybody ever needs to talk, I've been there, let me know, and we'll see if I can help. Thanks very much, and enjoy. Bye.
So Paul, we've just heard from Naomi. How do you respond to her story?
I just get initially very angry. Anytime you hear stories of bullying, you sort of want to get in there and just support her. But the great thing about Naomi's story also was the fact that she just had support around her as well. So it sort of not ended in a good way, but I didn't feel totally depressed at the end. But I think any stories of bullying are just unnecessary, and you just wonder why.
Have you been bullied?
Yeah, I have. I know it's. I often stand in front of my church and I say, I know you're not going to believe this, but I was bullied. I was bullied at school, and it was tough. It was very difficult. When you go shopping, when you use new shoes or new software or anything new, it's normally new is exciting. You have a Christmas feeling, you want to unwrap it.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of new schools, and new schools meant for me depression, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that I was different. And I knew that I was going to be bullied, and I almost expected it, and it wasn't a very nice experience.
So you experienced bullying kind of in all the schools you went, and it just became a pattern.
It just became a pattern. I went to school at a time when difference was very high, and it was obvious that I was different. I went to a school I was the only black in 1,200 children, and it was just very painful experience. But having said that, I did see other people getting bullied. I saw people who wore glasses got bullied, or people that were too clever, or people that with red hair get bullied. I saw bullying in very different guises. I wouldn't say it was just myself. It was just any minority.
I see. Could you please tell us how you were bullied?
I personally was bullied because I went to school in the 70s, and I was black, and it was easy, and I think that bullying is very easy, and it's very lazy, and when you're younger, you don't want to be. When you're older, you want to be an individual. You want to be unique. You want to be yourself. But when you're younger, it's actually about the group, and you want to be popular. So I played football, and I played basketball, and I was very popular in those sorts of things. And it was really strange for me, because the same people that I was being successful with in sport were the same people that bullied me outside.
Really?
And so it was very difficult. So there was this camaraderie in one way, but then as we stepped away in a classroom or a different place, there was this bullying. So it was very difficult. And I remember one year my cousin came to stay with us, and he just couldn't believe the level of this prejudice that was happening. I'd quite simply got used to it. I knew how to react around it. And people around this, you do tend to know how to behave. You know, Naomi knew one of the things she was saying was the fact that she didn't go to the kitchen a lot, or she had eating problems, that she wouldn't go certain places, or she wouldn't be involved in their trip. She almost learned how to behave around the bullying to appease them. You do learn.
Were you called names? Were you physically abused?
Yeah, I was, but now I see it as lessons to be learned. But at the time, it was very difficult. And the reason I'm here today speaking to you is very simply that there are people out there that will listen to this, and I really want them to know that they didn't do this to themselves, because I don't know what it is in the human psyche that we actually take on the negativity of what people say. Even as an adult, I was talking to you earlier that I went to somewhere, I was speaking, I thought it was amazing, 299 people thought it was amazing, but one person came along and said something negative. I actually can't remember the 299 people. I can only remember the one person who said something negative. And I think that in all the talk of bullying, that what I found is that really, rather than get rid of it, we need to create a bigger voice. There needs to be a bigger voice on our shoulder that literally says, you're amazing, that you're wonderful, that you're destined for greatness, that you can do it, that you can go for it, rather than the voice that we sometimes listen to, that sometimes is told to us that we can't do it. Because I think that bullying very much is about a self-esteem issue.
Yes. So you have to work on maintaining a high self-esteem even though you're bombarded with all these negative comments.
I think we have to do in life. I just think that from a bullying perspective, we have tended to listen to it, and we've tended to act it out. So in the end, we actually believe what these people say about us. And it isn't until later on that maybe we fight against it, that someone believes in us. We may talk about things that we should do, but I remember in my situation, there was a guy, and I always mention his name. His name was Simon Pope. And he saw my bullying at school. And one day he said, "Come with me." And it was great because he was a bigger bully. And he said, "Come with me." And it's almost, he metaphorically held my hand through some periods of school. And when I was with him, there was no bullying. And it was a wonderful experience to have someone there that was just, as when they saw him, they didn't come to me because they knew that I was protected. So Naomi talks about the fact that she has a family, that she has a brother around the corner, she has a support structure. And I would say that this is really important, that we literally find people that can support you, find people that will listen to you, find people that will make you strong, because sometimes you can't make yourself strong on your own.
Why do you think people bully in the first place?
I just think it's lazy. I think it's easy. I think you don't have to make a lot of effort. We see this in our own society when we talk about immigration at the moment, of people from Eastern Europe or whatever, that it's just easy because we don't know about them. So it's easy just to pick on them for whatever reason there is. And it's more difficult for us to get a step closer and to actually ask them questions and see what about their life. And I think also the other part of bullying is that I think that there is a macabre enjoyment in the pain. I think that as a human being, they see your pain, and somewhere along the line, they enjoy it. There's a control mechanism. There's power in this. And there's, as much as there is power, there's also a powerlessness in this. And from my perspective, I really want to address that area, the powerlessness of this experience.
I've heard many stories where people who bully are bullied themselves, and this is why they choose to bully. Maybe kids at school, at home, maybe by their siblings or by their parents, they're bullied. So then they take this experience and they bully at school, for example. Do you think maybe more support needs to be given to people who bully?
I think so. I think there is an argument for that. But I also truly think that bullies don't think that they're bullying now when they're doing it. When they're doing it, they're actually doing it. There's an enjoyment, there's a wonderfulness about it. A year ago, I received 2 letters from, they're actually for Facebook essays, from bullies of my school. that two of the bullies came back to me and they wrote this letter and they were really apologetic. One of them came to me specifically because he now had a mixed race child, and his child was going through bullying, and he remembered how he bullied me at school, and then he wrote this thing. So I think at the time when a bully's going through it, that maybe they don't see what they're doing, that it's just enjoyment, and also they get a lot of notoriety. They're popular, and who doesn't want to be popular? And then you don't want to be known as a diplomat at school. You want to be known as the man or the woman, so to speak. And so maybe there is something about the modelling that happens in their homes, but regardless of that, there is a pain that goes on, and I think that needs to be addressed first.
Can I ask you, how long did it take you to kind of overcome this bullying when you were bullied in school? Naomi said that she knows it's going to take a long time for her to forgive what's happened to her.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think that I am over 50, and I think I'm still affected by the bullying that happened in my school. I think that I'm actually affected in a negative way, but I'm also affected in a very positive way, in that I had to be more reaffirming of myself, because you tend to listen to these negative voices. And so now I fill myself far much more with positive voices. And Naomi spoke about the fact that she reads the Bible. And one of the things that really enthused me about the Bible was there's this text in the Bible, John 15:16, and Jesus says to his disciples, "You didn't choose me, I chose you." And victims of bullying are rarely chosen. And so when I read this, I was really sort of like excited, and I kept reading this over and over again, and it talks about that God says that I want you to be my friend, and bullies rarely want people to be their friends.
Yes.
And so I found that reading the Bible and reading these texts and washing them over the wounds and of the scenarios of my bullying has actually made me not listen to the voices, and I now have a louder voice than the voice. I can't get rid of the voice of bullying, but I can have a louder voice. And the reason I'm here today speaking to you is that anybody that's listening, I just want them to know that they can be great, that they can be amazing, that people can choose them, that people can select them, people can know that you're of value, and you're not what the bully has told you that you are.
That's great. I hope that a lot of people get hope from this.
I really do too.
Experience that you're sharing.
I do too.
What's your opinion on people who see bullying, but they don't do anything to stop it?
I think it's sometimes difficult. I think as children, I'd like to say they should help and they should be supportive, but then a lot of times they're not strong enough. I found that you're not strong. Adults are more stronger. They're able to do something. If you were in a classroom and you're doing it with you, and your friend was being bullied, you're with your friend, but actually to be associated with a friend who's been bullied means that you have to subject yourself to it as well.
Yes.
And who wants to subject themselves to it? So it takes a very strong individual to actually come along and help in that particular way. So I think that bullying, the victims of bullying will talk a lot about the isolation, the physical isolation, and also the mental and social isolation. The isolation which comes from the fact that they start believing what has been told of them, and actually they withdraw. They simply withdraw from their friends, from their society, and this process just continues.
You mentioned Facebook earlier,
Yes.
and these days with social media, there's a lot of places where people can be bullied.
Absolutely.
Even anonymously, because on the internet you can hide your identity and you can easily pick on whoever you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think cyberbullying is obviously a new genre to us, and the great thing about cyberbullying is that you can block, there are now parameters of which you can mould your profile, and I think those things should be done, and those things are healthy. But also, the problem I find just with the cyberbullying is that once you step off, you have to go back into real life. You have to go back into your school, into your college, into your place of work. And you still have to confront this. And so I still think that there are boundaries that you need to set up. And for me, those boundaries are actually supportive people, is to tell people. However, the difficulty in support is that there are we know the statistics now are coming out that saying 67% of people, or school children, report they're being bullied.
Yes.
But then the same amount are saying that the support is inadequate, that actually teachers and parents feel totally inadequate and under-resourced to actually help their children, the people that are being bullied. So in a sense, there's a massive frustration, and it just perpetuates it, and it continues. So it's a cycle which needs to be broken, but it's a difficult one at best.
Do you think that maybe sometimes bullying is underestimated? A lot of people treat it as teasing.
Yeah, I think that teasing is where both of us are enjoying it. Bullying, I'm definitely, or one of us is definitely not enjoying it. Bullying is definitely where one person is superior and the other one is made to feel inferior, and that isn't very nice.
So it's a very serious issue.
It's a very serious issue.
What would you say were the top 3 things that helped you to start to overcome being bullied?
I think number one, having support. Number one was having support. Just the fact that you have someone that believes in you, someone that starts to say to you, I think you're good, I think that you can do things, someone that brings you in. Also just the fact that I found that just reading affirming material, we talked about the Bible, just reading affirming material, and action, simply out of all what you hear, out of all of what you read, just stepping into something and doing something. And when you achieve something, it just sends back messages to yourself. Do you know what? Do you know what they said about me? You know, it's not true. It's not true. Actually, I can do something well. I can be amazing.
So what's your final message that you would give us, a piece of advice or a message of hope that you would give to someone who is being bullied?
I think the message of hope for someone who's bullied is that you're not alone, and that please reach out. That was the first thing I would say. I spent years and years before I reached out, because no one wants to be lesser. No one wants to, we're not very good at asking for help. And I actually think that one of the best things I've ever done is actually ask for help. And then someone reaching out and actually holding my hand and metaphorically leading me, you know, affirming me and making me feel better about myself. And also that you have a voice, and that you have stories, and you have things to tell, and you have things to achieve, and actually be the best you that you can be. That's what I would say, and let that be who you are. Don't listen to the voices.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Paul,
No
and
problem at all.
for being willing to share your story. And thank you for joining us. If you want to know more or have any questions, or if you want to share your story, contact us at lifeconnect.info. And I leave you with this thought: live healthy, grow wise, and enjoy your youth.